Hello, this is a demo about SQL Server to MySQL conversion using tools provided by iSpire Systems. So, first of all, I would like to mention that iSpire Systems provide a set of tools that helps you in maintaining the database and application migration processes. So the data as well as schema and business logic can be converted using SQL-based tools. And also, iSpire Systems provide a set of tools for comparing the data conversion from one database to another database, and for replication processes based on triggers. Okay, so first let me start from SQL Wizard. This is a tool that you can see on your screen. First, when we start it, you see a Welcome to SQL Wizard page. Here you can enter the license you have provided by iSpire Systems. And there's also select a project directory, create a new project option that lets you specify a directory where all the tunings for SQL tools that you provide for this particular project will be stored. So all the data type mappings, identifier mappings, objects that you've selected for conversion will be listed here in this project file. And the options that you specified will be stored in a special INI file for SQL tool. On the Choose a Source Database page, you need to specify the ODBC DSN for connection to a SQL Server database. You can see I've got one predefined ODBC DSN, or by clicking New you can specify your own ODBC DSN in SQL Wizard. And also you need to provide a username and password for SQL Server database that must have appropriate privileges. Usually these are DBA rights, in order to have an opportunity to make a select from system tables from SQL Server database, because SQL uses queries to system tables to extract additional information about the objects it is it's converting from SQL Server database to MySQL. On the Choose a Target database page, you need to specify a MySQL as a target. You can specify the version of a MySQL database server. The host name, the database name, the username, and the password are required. Also, if you have several instances of MySQL database installed on one host, you need to provide a port number for MySQL server you are going to use it as an import. On the advanced page, you can specify a bin directory for MySQL exe tool location, because SQL uses native tool mysql.exe tool to load the objects and definitions into MySQL database. There are a set of options that helps you in controlling the data loading into MySQL exe into MySQL database. So just if you need some specific feature to support the conversion, just send your request to us and we will help you in tuning up the SQL wizard. On the specified database objects or query page, you can see a list of the objects provided for the stored database. So each object is stored in its own schema, in its own object type. So you can review them and select for a conversion using arrow buttons, or by just drag and drop from left to right pane. You can see a set of objects is provided for this conversion because I'm using the project directory. So all specifications are already reused in this particular run of SQL Wizard. There are a set of options that helps you in tuning up the migration process, like controlling the result words conversion using replace result words option, or options that changes the schema name conversion from Microsoft SQL Server to MySQL database. Also, there are options that help you in controlling whether you would like to export the data or not export the data, or whether you would like to export the schema or no. Also, there are options that helps you in changing the data type mapping on the global level, like here, and on local level for a specific table, for specific columns in specific tables. Also, you can change object names and so on and so forth. So this is what you actually can do in SQL ways, and lots of other things. So just turn to us with your requests regarding the particular feature you would like to use in our tool, and we can tell you how to use it in our tool. On a specify export file options page, you need to specify the export directory, which will be used as an intermediate repository for all the files that SQLways wizard generates, SQLways tool actually generates for subsequent load into MySQL database. So this is a set of batch scripts, load data in file commands, text files with data, SQL files with definitions of objects. So, and all this set of files can be run using SQLways all batch file that is used for importing all the objects one by one into MySQL database. So I've got an export repository here specified, and I'm using run and trace mode options that helps me in depicting the source commanded in the same file with its equivalent for MySQL database. Specify import options page. As for MySQL database, you can see there is a block of two major options here when you can make an import to a local or remote target database from the local system. This is a system where SQLways resides. So if you have a MySQL client installed on this computer, so you can use this option as I use it because I have MySQL XZ tool installed here. Or there is another one option that states that import will be made on a remote system. So you can generate a set of scripts. These can be Windows batch files or Unix shell scripts, which you can subsequently redirect to another folder on another computer and run the import process from that location. And you need to specify a directory option in this case. This is a directory on the system, on a remote system, that you will be using as a repository for all the files. For MySQL, we also use a migration sequence for tables as fast, because in this case data is loaded into MySQL database before constraints and indexes, and this is a preferable way of doing the import into MySQL database actually. So this is a review the selections page with some information about the migration process you are going to perform, and after clicking next we go to a migration status page. So here at this point our tool connects to the source database, to a Microsoft SQL Server, and extracts all the objects one by one from source database, and converts the scripts and the data stored in this database, and stores this information in the export directory in appropriate format. So we can go to a view export page, and we can see a set of files that has been created so far by our tool with a batch file that contains a command for definitions loading into MySQL database. You can see it's a tab SQL file is being loaded. Let me show it like this. You can see it here, and the data loading is performed using LDI file with a load data in file command. there's a text file with the information inside that is used for data loading, and the LDI command looks like this. Also, let me go back. So I've specified Unix. I need to go back to the import. Just let me regenerate the import process. So you can see shell scripts were created as I specified the shell location. You can use it. You can see shell scripts with the same set of commands actually that run the DDL commands with the scripts conversion, scripts loading into MySQL database. So this is a SQL files that are loaded into MySQL database, and a command for LDI files loading into MySQL database. So now I've regenerated them. You can see it here. For tables, there are generated set of files for constraints as well, and indexes also in separate files. As for stored procedures, triggers, functions, there's also only generated one command that loads the definition of the trigger or stored procedure into MySQL database. And there generated SQL file with a commented source and its equivalent for MySQL database, and you can see it here. Okay, so this is a set of scripts, the set of files that are generated for MySQL as a target database. Also, I would like to mention major files that controls the export process. You can see the SQL log file with the information of the command line that is used for doing the export, with the information about the objects selected for conversion, statistics regarding each object extraction from source database, and then the information, the total information for each object type, how much data has been extracted using SQL ways for tables, how many rows of data, number of objects that were extracted correctly, and the same for other object types like views, stored procedures, functions, triggers, but instead of the data size, it shows the number of lines of code for each object type. And then the overall statistics for the whole database. Also, there's generated SQL report HTML file that depicts the information in a more readable format. You can see the summary page, object summary information for the whole database. This is a summary table for each object type, total number of objects, number of rows of data for tables, lines of code for business logic objects, whether they were extracted with issues or without issues or with issues, and the number of seconds required for this. And then there goes a table for each object type, like tables, views, stored procedures, functions, and triggers. And some information about identifier changes in different object types, and etc. Modifications that were used inside the database conversion. And as for, so we have export completed. Now let's start the import process into the target database. So you can see all the objects are imported one by one into MySQL using command line tools. We can finish the process, and we can review the import log provided by our company that actually contains information that MySQL server returns to our application, to SQL ways, regarding the status of import. So if there were any errors, they would have been depicted here in the SQL with IMP log file. As for data import, there's generated a log file for each run of a import process, and you can see which SQL commands were sent to MySQL database server and what was the effect, whether there was a warning or how many rows were, whether the query was okay or no, and etc. You can see all this information in log file provided for each object loaded individually into MySQL database. Okay, so all the objects were loaded into MySQL. Now let's turn to SQLways Commander and SQLways Studio tools that are used in our company for scripts conversion. So as for SQLways Studio, first of all, this tool works with one script at a time. You can provide a large script from Microsoft SQL Server with the objects separated with Go statement, for example, as usually my Microsoft SQL Server provides for when generates a script of the database. So you can use it like this, and by specifying a source like Microsoft SQL Server and a target like MySQL and clicking Run, you can convert the source, create procedure statements or a set of statements. There can be specified create table statements and other definitions of objects that can be converted into a script for MySQL exec command line tool. You can see a delimiter is redefined here, and then all the objects are being loaded into MySQL tool as a one script, MySQL database as a one script. And in the same window you can see the source and its equivalent provided by our tool. Also below you can see the command that is actually used for this conversion process, because for all the tools that graphical tools that our company provides, there used one tool called SQLways Exec. This is a command line tool that can work with databases using ODBC connection or with scripts using connection to a directory. So you can specify a directory or a file and make a conversion of a script database in a script from one database to another. Actually, so our company recommends using ODBC connection because our tool additionally extracts information from the source database that helps in maintaining a business logic conversion more accurately for specific features that our tool supports. Because everything matters, the data types for columns and etc. So all this information is used while doing the migration, automatic migration process. Okay, so also let me show you SQLways Commander. This tool looks very similar to Studio, except for the left and right panels are for file specification actually. So you can specify file or two files for conversion, or you can specify the whole directory for a conversion here, and then can run the conversion process from Microsoft SQL Server to a MySQL database. So like for here we can, for example, let me specify one source. Let's specify Microsoft SQL Server as a source database and MySQL as a target database. Let's run the conversion. So you can see it makes a conversion from source to target using a convert to a folder that you specified as a target folder. You can change it here however you wish, like for example I can change it as res1. And you when you run the conversion, you can see a command line tool is used again for this conversion process. You can go to res1 folder, open source, its equivalent provided automatically, and review the conversion here. Here is the source and here is its equivalent in MySQL database. So everything is quite simple, as you can see. Okay, so this is all information about the tools that our company Aspire Systems provides for maintaining database migrations. So the comparison tools, the SQL-based assessment wizard, and the replication tools will be described in our other sessions. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye.